All right, cozying up to criminals, that's the focus of tonight's angle. The contrast is astounding. As Democrats refuse to vote to reopen the government or even pay essential workers, and that was nice today, and as they fight for illegal aliens and against ICE, President Trump is working overtime and deploying every resource to keep Americans safe tonight. He's targeting drug cartels that poison and kill hundreds of thousands of Americans with fentanyl and cocaine, launching 8 attacks against suspected drug boats in the past 2 months, including a deadly strike in the Eastern Pacific on Tuesday.
We have legal authority. We're allowed to do that. And if we do by land, we may go back to Congress. But we have, this is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year. These drugs coming in. They killed 300,000 Americans last year, and that gives you legal authority.
Countless American lives will be saved because of our aggressive posture. That's thanks to President Trump. He's dispatching federal resources to cities whose elected officials just let criminals roam free.
We are getting all the gang members off the streets and the drug dealers. 58,000 kilos of cocaine. Think about a big backyard swimming pool. That would fill 1.5 swimming pools. Just the powder cocaine that has been removed, saving lives this last month. 2,300 kilos of fentanyl powder and 2.1 million fentanyl pills off the streets. We are going to supercharge this work. This is not a pilot program. This is permanent.
Meanwhile, at every turn, Democrats are fighting Trump. And they're fighting to keep criminal aliens in the United States and to keep vicious thugs on our streets. Governor Porkchop Pritzker is proud of policies like pretrial release and cashless bail, and he's unfazed if Americans suffer in the aftermath of those policies. Democrats are united. They're united in resisting Trump and being soft on crime. But Trump's team is just as united in their effort to keep protecting the American people.
The intelligence community plays a critical role in being able to support our law enforcement at the federal, state, and local level to make sure that they are armed with actionable intelligence. I'll say the last example I'll share is probably the most insidious, was providing intelligence to the Mexican law enforcement that led to the arrest of a CJNG cartel-affiliated baby trafficker called La Diabla. Her whole money-making operation was centered around luring pregnant women, performing illegal C-sections, harvesting organs, and selling newborn babies. Our folks, like everyone around this table, are working 24/7 without pay and eager to get after this because they believe in your leadership.
That's not an overstatement, by the way. This is true. They are working together, a united front. We finally have a leader who puts Americans first. After all, if we're not safe on our streets, in our homes, how can we truly be free?
This country was going to actually die without you. That's what we were facing in 2024. We've been invaded for 4 years. Our communities were sinking. Our public safety had gone to zero. Cartels were running entire communities. Sex trafficking, child trafficking, labor trafficking was out of control. Overdoses were out of control. The cartels were claiming more and more territory. City services were buckling. When you stepped forward originally in 2016, you started the movement to make America great again. And that means make America great again in every way. And that means safety. And in just 9 months, President Trump is the only American leader, not just in our lifetimes, but ever, to actually take the fight to the drug cartels, to actually seek their eradication.
Yes, and every time he fights for American safety, every single time, Democrats challenge him in court. But he's winning there, too, even in the Ninth Circuit. So how many Americans are going to have to die before Gavin Newsom decides to begin strict enforcement of those trucking regulations in his state that Bill Maloogian was just reporting on? And how many daughters and sons will wake up without fathers or mothers because left-wing politicians choose to lionize illegals and demonize ICE?
What is happening to undocumented immigrants is also happening to U.S. citizens.
When I see people being stopped because of the color of their skin and people are being demanded to prove their citizenship. I am angry because this is not the country that I want for us.
He's pounding that podium. I didn't see him pound that podium about later Arus Medina, the illegal alien from Nicaragua who raped a 54-year-old woman after he dragged her into an alley and smashed her head against the concrete. Remember, he came in under Biden into our country and was protected by pork chop sanctuary policies. But American victims, they don't count for Democrats.
The Oversight Committee will be launching on their website a master ICE tracker where we're going to be essentially tracking every single instance that we can verify that the community will be able to send us information on.
They're going to get an ICE agent killed, and they don't care. Where governors in Texas and Florida launch initiatives to get tough on crime, lock them up, in Illinois, they work to fight the crime fighters.
The commission will be charged with 3 core missions. 1, creating a public record of the abuses. 2, capturing the impact on families and communities. And 3, recommending actions to prevent further harm and to pursue justice.
Justice? What does that man know about justice? He's more worried about Trump and his own 2028 ambitions than the deaths and shootings that occur on his streets every single week. There are entire websites devoted to tracking Chicago homicide victims. Does Pritzker even know any of their names? Going forward, in every state across America, in the Virginia and the New Jersey gubernatorial races in November, and in the midterms next year, voters have to ask themselves, which party is fighting for my family and which party is fighting for the criminals? Tonight, the answer is clear, and that's The Angle.
TDS has been around for a very long time.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States. President
But now there's a new strain of TDS going around, and there's no cure for it. We even asked Dr. Siegel. It's called ballroom derangement syndrome.
I think it's going down now as an official condition by the doctors. I think they get paid extra money if they handle it because it's more difficult to handle than a normal mental disease.
Just like during COVID, CNN has a live tracker. Jim Acosta is camping outside of the White House in tears.
Well, I'm back here at the scene of the crime. This is where Donald Trump is tearing down part of the east wing of the White House so he can build a massive, gaudy, gilded ballroom to the tune of $250 million. And I wanted to come down here today and just hear what people had to say about it. And in the words of one D.C. resident, unbelievable.
You know who used to love the sweet sounds of jackhammers? CNN and Barack Hussein Obama.
Sounds like you're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
Barry tore up the White House and spent $400 million in taxpayer money during a recession. And what did he have to show for it? New pipes and a basketball court. That's it. Translation, the contractors took Obama to the cleaners. Trump spending less, $300 million on a big, beautiful ballroom, and you're not paying for it. No one's allowed to play ball on Barry's court, but you are allowed to dance the night away during Trump's 3rd inauguration. Kidding. But Hips isn't. He's ready to impeach.
Running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country and probably soliciting donations from people who've got business before the United States government. And all of this is going to have to be investigated. It will. All of this will have to be uncovered. It will. And these people are going to be held accountable, no matter how long it takes.
They're going to impeach the president for the 3rd time because he built a ballroom? Suddenly, Democrats are worried about historic monuments.
Trump said, I'm going to do it. I want my ballroom. If Trump next week began demolition on the Washington Monument, to make it more of a Mar-a-Lago looking thing. Would Republicans stand up and say anything?
The people who rip down famous statues now care about preserving American history. Since when do Democrats care so much about the White House structure? They told us the White House was built on racism.
According to the White House Historical Association, enslaved human beings were likely involved in all aspects of the construction, including the carpentry, masonry, carting, rafting, plastering, glazing, and painting.
BLM was trying to burn the White House down, and Democrats were mad Trump put around a fence. The left doesn't want America to be beautiful. They don't think we deserve it. The whole purpose of the East Wing was just a ruse to cover up an underground bunker. The First Lady's secretaries have a few offices there. That's it. The bunker will still be there. Now they all have better offices. The normies understand.
Nixon had his bowling alley. JFK had a swimming pool. So, you know, he's getting his touch. And it's going to be beautiful when it's done. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful.
Democrats are just mad Trump's building a big, beautiful thing during the Schumer shutdown, when the whole point of the shutdown is suffering. Not my words, theirs.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, you know, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
They just said the quiet part out loud. They're making Americans suffer to bail out Obamacare for illegals. And they want to fire the only Democrat who wants to go back to work.
I'm always going to vote country over my party. And if I pay a price within my base, you know, that's something I'm willing to do. I'm not afraid to tell my truth. And if I'm going to pay a penalty, I'm not afraid of that. It's wrong to shut our government down.
Democrats won't defend you, but they will defend the guy who wants to kill children. And now they're defending a guy with a Nazi tattoo. This guy's running for Senate in Maine, named Graham Plattner. Got a skull and bones Nazi symbol tattooed on his chest when he was a Marine. The so-called nipple Nazi said he got drunk in Croatia and just woke up with it. Had it on his chest for 20 years. And he says when someone told him it symbolized the SS, he covered it up with a wolf.
Okay. You can't quite tell, but yeah. Well, actually, maybe. Yeah. It still has its like healing thing on it.
I hate anti-Semitism. I hate Nazism and Nazis. They're going to call me a communist no matter what. They called Hillary Clinton a communist. They call anyone who ever advocates for any sort of beneficial programs for working people a communist or a socialist.
And they said Hegseth was a Nazi because he had a tattoo of a cross. This guy has an actual Nazi tattoo, and they say he's just going through a phase.
I'm not overly impressed by a squad of media running around saying, "What do you think about the tattoo on Graham Plattner's chest?" He went into a dark period in his life. I suspect that Graham Plattner is not the only American to have gone through a dark period.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Democrats can go through a dark period and get Hitler tats, and they'll forgive you. You can run for Senate. But if an 18-year-old posts a Michelle Obama meme, he's canceled for life? Come on. Democrats called everyone they hated a Nazi. Trump, Miller, Vance, Pete, Ice, everybody. And now one of their guys has been running around tatted up like the Third Reich. And they're like, he covered it up. You know what else this so-called nipple Nazi said? Who's an oyster farmer, by the way? Guy said blacks don't tip. Said cops are bastards. And rural America is racist and stupid. Democrats defended him. They still are. They're against the ballroom, but the so-called nipple Nazi's great. It's almost like